Okay, so this to me is the fun part, adding the details. Before we keep going, just in case you're starting up this last lesson, let's just go over a bit on what we've learned. How I'm approaching this. I'm using I'm using surfaces edge to edge here. I'm keeping everything very simple. Um, and it all started with this one surface here, right? That's the proportion of the screen. And now what I want to do is actually start cutting this up, adding a fillet here, and adding little buttons and cameras and all that. So it's super, to me, this is like this is the fun part because it really makes everything shine. So the first thing we're gonna do is first organize my layers, right? Because this one, if I unhide it, okay, I'll call this one for right now back. And we'll make it like a maybe a light blue. Or no, we'll keep it red. Maybe like an orange. Okay. And then this one right here, I have that screen. I want to actually because I'm gonna add a bevel and a fillet and all that. I don't want to do that multiple times. So I'm gonna actually put this in the archive layer, and I'm gonna use this surface as the main surface. If I take out the symmetry of these layers, right? If I select my surfaces and open up this controls, right? I have on this side is just a mirrored side, so so I don't need it right now while I'm working on it, right? And so let's say here I want to add a little corner, right? I can add a blend. I can use my blend curve, right? Add a corner here, here, and then with my edit tool, select it here, select this point here, like that. Untrim it and then project it, right? But what if I have some sort of parameters that I need to sort of follow, right? Something that's not a little less free flowing and more like, okay, we need to reach a minimum radius here, and we also want lead in, right? So what I do is I'm gonna duplicate the curve here, and then I'm gonna select these curves, hide unselected, and then here in curves, if I move this up, curve edit, create curve fillet, and then I'm gonna press this box. So construction type chord, no, let's say radius, right? Section, I want curvature. I could even use G3, but since it's so small, it doesn't really matter. Specify center radius. Center radius here, right? Like let's say I need a center radius of like maybe 1 millimeter. And then you select here, and you select here. And there, if I look back, 1 millimeter seems a little too. I want to make it a little more obvious, maybe 2. And there you go. So now I could use, if I unhide selected, I could select this again, and I'll untrim. Delete these trimmed surface, trim curve on surfaces. Whoops, sorry. And then I'll project this new line here. And then let me delete this random one. And then trim. There you go. Now, like I'll put this in my archive layer, or no, in my curve layer, so it goes away. But let's say I wanted to, I want to add a parting line, right? There's a couple ways I could do that. I could add a surface here, like getting these skins and duplicating them. Or I could actually use an automatic tool called the panel gap tool, which I'll use for this. And the beauty of this one is that I could use the same surface. So I'm going to untrim this, and then trim it again to get rid of this one. So keep, right? Because I'm just kind of getting rid of this. And so now I have that curve on surface, and then I could go to here to surface, and I could go to where is it? This let me see. Give me 1 second. Here, panel gap under world edges. This tool, it's sort of it's a tool that makes a panel. What it says is panel gap. It's not exactly it doesn't work all of the time. So a lot of times you have to sort of custom make those types of gap panels. But in simple situations like this, it's really it works pretty good. So I click on this box. And then here it asks for different measurements, right? I'm gonna go down here and select chain select because I wanted to select everything that still has continuity across, right? So I click on that, and it automatically selects all of it. Okay. Now let's go back up. So let's see. Gap distance 50. Obviously, if there was a 50 millimeter gap here, that would be way too freaking big. And actually, I don't want any gap, right? So we'll go 0. Then the primary section, it says here G1 tangent. For something this tiny, you can go tangent, but I always go curvature. Specify center radius of my little panel here. If I go 5, obviously it's gonna be way too much. So I'm gonna actually go to maybe something like 0.5. And the secondary, same thing, curvature, center radius, 0.5. And then here in the flange, it's gonna create a flange. I'm gonna make it 1 millimeter, or maybe 4 millimeters. So once I press accept and build, see it built that gap, and obviously it's way too huge. So my numbers were off. And I think, is that the mirror or is that how big it is? Yeah, no, that's how big it is. It's because I forgot to limit. I'll go query edit, and then actually I forgot here in the because there's 2 flanges, right? The left and the right side, and on the left side I put 4, on the right side I put 10, but obviously 4 is too much, and obviously this radius is too much. So let's go up here to the center radius. We'll go 0.1, and then like if I press enter, you'll see what I'm like, one side will get smaller, not the other side. See? So now I gotta go to the other side. I wonder if there's an equal. I wonder if there's a way to make it so that both sides are always the same dimensions. I don't think so. I guess you just have to do it twice, huh? Okay, so let's see. Oh, here this one is obviously the length of the flange is way too much. Let's go length. Let's go 1, and then on this side length 1, and then on the center radius of this one I still have to go 0.1. and update. Okay, see, now we have this center radius. Do you guys see how this is jagged? You know, a lot of people mistake that with, oh, this isn't precise or anything like that. The only reason this is jagged is because of our tessellation. It's the computer. Remember, a long time ago I said how these surfaces are really infinite. Like, you know, you could extrapolate as much data as you want from them, as much fidelity as you want from them, because it's math. It's the same thing when you're visualizing this. You know, the computer, it runs an algorithm that puts polygons on it. You know, and if I get close here, you could sort of see the edges of the polygons here, right? Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. The reason why is because this is such a small cell phone, right? But if I go to, before I finish this, I want to, if I look at it from this side. The flanges, I'm gonna make them into 0.5. And 0.5. just to make these smaller, right? So if you see here, you know, it doesn't look as smooth, but that's because the computer, it's the tolerances are a bit low for such a small scale, because obviously Alias is usually making ginormous cars, you know, not little cell phones. But you could easily change that. You go to Window, Display, Hardware Shade, and then here in Quality, User Defined, 0.05. Let's zoom in on here, right? If I change that to 0.005, see, now it's nice and clean. Let me shade it, right? I'll shade it, use my screen like this. Oh, I can't do that, right? Okay, so let me shade it like that, right? As you can see, this surface is still, it's still one surface, you know, and I want to sort of make it two. And this panel gap sort of, that's what that tool did. It still kept it as one surface. So what I'm gonna do is, now that I know that I'm good with the panel gap, I like this sort of size and all that. I'm gonna delete the history, all right, by selecting it, and then delete history. And then I'm gonna isolate this. And I need to separate these, right? This is under our trim tool. So there's a couple ways to do it. I could control copy and then do it sort of like by hand, which I might be able. Well, I'll control copy, right? Then I'll untrim this. Actually, no, that's fine now. Since I untrimmed it, let's see, now it doesn't have the hole here. And then I'm gonna press trim again. And remember, I'm using my hotkeys, but I already showed you guys in previous video where those are located. Surface edit, trim, right? And then instead of that, I'm gonna press shift to remove these. Shift click, left click to remove them. And then I'm gonna click here and press the divide tool. Divide, right? So now I divided this and this. It left this random one here, so I'm just gonna delete this one, right? So now, even though these were the same surface, now they're different. They're the same surface structure, but they're different surfaces. And now I'm gonna unhide the rest, and then I'm gonna paint this white like that. See, so now we have a nice little parting line, and I also I like to sort of start, I also want to change the color of this, because I kind of wanted a matte black, and I also want a little, let me show you guys. Okay. So, I'm gonna add a trim and all this, and color it a little more, but the first thing I want to do is actually organize this a bit. So I want to make it so, let me see this, okay. I'm gonna put all these into their own section. So I want to make this one into a screen layer, and I'll unhide it, and all of its corresponding surfaces. And there's gonna be a double layer here because of the flanges, and I get what I'm thinking right now in my head is, should I keep them or not? But since I'm only gonna visualize this, I'm gonna remove the flange, because I don't think I need it right now. I won't need it for this project, period. But a lot of times, if you're doing these sort of flanges will actually come from the engineering department, you know, because there's going to be draft angles and all that, and Alias has those tools, you know, to take into account draft angles and all that, and dipole analysis. But that to me is really, I don't want to go into that right now. I don't really. You do need to understand that eventually, though, because that does that's especially once you start doing, it's called Class A, which is the more, it's made more for for production, and there you're worrying about minimum radiuses, you know, build tolerances, stuff like that. So the front plate, I'm gonna make a new layer and select these surfaces and assign and hide, assign. So this one is gonna be front, right? And then let's open up a screen again. Where is it here? Right? Now the next thing I want is I want to add a little bezel here, right? So I need to have an offset of this edge. So one of the ways is one tool that we always use, right, is the tubular offset tool, right? Tubular offset, and then I could click here, and then the radius would be like maybe like like a 1 millimeter. It's gonna be extremely fine, right? And I kind of want to keep and I can make it keep going all the way to the edge. And there you go. Now I could do the same thing I did with the panel gap here, right? I could use that tool, but I actually, since I know that you know there may be that tool. Let's say that tool didn't work, right? I still need to make a panel, right? So I have to draft this down. I could use my draft tool, which the reason why it takes so long to like find these things is because all of my tools are set up here. Here, multi-surface draft, right? And then I'm gonna select all these, right? And then I'm gonna click here because I wanted to draft down. I'm basically building the flange, right? And the length, let's see, let's do 0.5 because I know it's close to the edge, right? And then I'm gonna delete the history. And then I'm going to actually copy the main. I'm going to copy it and just sort of have it there in my clipboard. And then I'm going to do a fillet here. So I'm going to press 3. My fillet is hotkeyed up, but the fillet tool is multi-surface fillet tool here. Let me open up the options. Fillet, chordal. Obviously, if there was some sort of minimum radius, you could do that with that tool. And then select the flange, select this. Select the direction, and the chordal length, I bet you would be like 0.5, right? Probably even less, 0.25. And remember, see how we didn't get curvature a long time ago, even in the last video I talked about, that if you ever get deviation 1, it's because mathematically it's not supposed to get curvature. Let's remember that. Does that mean that I want to add volume here? No, you don't need that. You know, the reason I tell you guys all that is just so that just don't be too obsessed with finding curvature. Think more about the form and all that, right? So then what I'm gonna do is, let me go object visible, right? Then I am gonna assign this and this to the back, and then hide that, right? I'll assign this to the back too, for right now, right? I need this. Then I'm gonna paste that again, right? The one, because I need this side, and then I'm gonna select that. Did I already delete the cert? Yeah. First, I'm gonna delete the history, right, of that fillet, and then I'm gonna do the same for this side, right? First, I'm gonna trim this, and then I'm gonna hide unselected. I mean, delete the curve on surface, and then I'm gonna do the same thing. Do the fillet, but this time instead of going this way, it's gonna go this way here. I'm gonna push it in like that. See? So, and then if I go object visible, see? There. I did the same exact thing that we did here, but instead of using the panel grab tool, I used the draft tool and the fillet tool together, right? That's how these sort of things work. Is that how did I make it? Let's see. Now I want it's because I want this side to be I want it to be like a metal. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to get this, control, copy, paste, and then I'm going to move down to here, right? I kind of want it, I want it to be exactly, I want it to be exactly on this flange. So I'm going to untrim it again, right? And then I'm going to move the pivot to here, and I'm going to move it here, right? And then I'm going to actually use my extend tool to extend this out like this. Let me delete the history and delete the curve on surfaces. And then I'm going to extend this out like that. Right? And then I'm going to use my surface, what is it? It's trim intersect? What is it? And create curve on surface intersect. So this, enter, and then I'm going to click all these like that, and enter. And then I'm actually gonna get this flange and this surface, look at it from the top, and I'm gonna project this edge down. Since I already know that they're basically touching already, I don't really care too much about the angle because they're already they're on the same plane. And then I'm gonna trim this. Okay. Like that, untrim, right? And all this stuff, I'm gonna trim divide using the trim tool, but here I'm press divide, right? And then here too. So I'm gonna go all down here and press divide, divide, right? I could select multiple at the same time, and then divide, right? Now I want to paint this into like a copper, so I'm gonna go into my apply shader, right? Render apply shaders, and I'm gonna go to metals, right? And I'm gonna do like a soft copper, which I think is this one. Oh no, this one. Yeah, there you go. And then just color this in like that, right? What about the floor? All right, there you go. So now I want all of these, I want all the copper ones I just painted into their own like copper layer. So instead of selecting all of them, I'm actually gonna use my pick shader tool. And I have it hotkeyed up here to pick in my marking menu, I have it here to pick shader. But I think here you could go, I'm trying to remember where it's at. Here, yeah, so pick, object type, pick by shader. So this will pick all the stuff I colored by copper, and so I click on it, and then I'm gonna hide unselected, and then I'm gonna delete the history because I don't want it. And then I'm gonna go surface layer, new, assign. We're gonna call this copper. I might make it rose gold or some shit. I don't know. Actually, let's do that. Rose gold. I love rose gold. And then I wanna change that to a little more pink, right? So I'm gonna use my my apply shader tool again. Click on this here, specular. I'll make it a little lighter. Specular here. Let's make it just a little more pinky, and a little lighter. There you go. Now, before I go onto the next, to the next step, I might as well add the little itty bitty fillets here, right? These are going to be super tiny. I don't even know if manufacturing has these sort of tolerances, but right now we're just having fun. So cell phone, let's save. So let's add a small little fillet everywhere. Because these little fillets really start making everything look really nice. So I'll use this. I'm gonna use this edge. Which one? Yeah, before testing out all of them, I'm gonna use this as like a tester. And I'm gonna, here on flow control, I'm gonna go default and default so it won't freeze on me. And then select these two. Maybe 0.5. No, that's too much. 0.4. I don't know if it will reach. No, because then it gets eaten up here. I can, if I wanna, I can make it so that I also select this one and then it goes in. But I really, to me, I don't want it to go down and eat it. I wanna have a little gap there just to make my life easier right now, especially for such a tiny part. So 0.3 looks like will work. Select undo, and now I'm gonna go all the way across. Oh, Alt L, and now I'm gonna go all the way across here. 3 is my hockey. I'm hockeyed up 3 with my fillet tool. So select these 3 and this, and then I'm gonna double click here, make sure it's at 0.3, and let's see what happens when I select this to, let's see. Because I think in here it's gonna bite in, and it's not too bad. But let's see. Honestly, right now, since it's so, the only error I got was basically this, but that's not an error. That's more like it cut in through the whole surface, so that surface is not needed. And so I go like invisible, right? And there's really not that big of a difference. The only thing that's really happening is here, it still has a little bit of the surface, and then around the corner it gets all eaten up. And everything is since everything is curvature and everything, it's not too, to me it's fine. We could just leave it like that. Okay, so now I'm gonna delete the history of these fillets. Oop. I don't like history. Right. And now let's add little itty bitty fillets here. And actually, this one I'm gonna control copy and add it onto the other one too, because the other one, if I go visible, or let me make sure everything is in rose gold, right? Okay, ObjectVisible. Yeah, I'm gonna copy this because I also want this to be in the bottom too, and I might render them openly or something like that. So I do want this surface on for the second one twice. Right, so Control copy, paste, and I'll put that in the back. And then I'll hide this for right now, and then I'm gonna use my apply shader, select this, apply it here. Just to sort of, you know, make everything nice and organized. Let's get the screen out of there, open the rose gold again. So here, I'm gonna do the same thing. Let's see, default, yeah, I'll just default right now and see how, it's gonna be tiny. This is so tiny. I do wonder if I'm sure eventually with 3D printing and the high fidelity things, I'm sure they're getting up to this precision. You know, even though the automotive world is very precise, you know, obviously in something like cell phones and stuff like that, I'm sure their tolerances are much higher than what I'm used to. Yeah, I'm gonna do the inside one too. This inside one I really don't need to do it because it's gonna be always covered up, but yeah, actually since I don't need to do it, I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay, so let's add this into my rose gold layer. Let's make my rose gold layer like pink or something. And then let's shade this up like this. And then this surface that is not needed anymore, I'm gonna put this in my archive layer just in case. Almost looks like there's an error in this surface, so I'm just gonna hide and select it, go to see my side, and then see what's going on. So I'm gonna untrim this, extend this trim on surface, and then oh whoops, keep. Oh, I forgot to I forgot to delete the history. Let me delete the history. There you go. So let me try that again. There you go. Oh, and it looks like it didn't do the bottom trim Y. Keep. There you go. There we go. And before since this is kind of its own little isolated product or isolated thing, I'm going to go to Surface Edit, Orientation, Set Geometric Surface Orientation, and set this all up so that all the blue is outside. Another thing I'm going to do is, in terms of like organizing this, and then also I guess I have to do the visual orientation too for some reason. Oh wait, actually, oh. If you guys, orientation is the main side of the surface. Every surface has a normal direction, you know. And if let me see. When I did the have I done the inside one yet? Let me see. No, it's this one, right? That won't do, right? That won't do at all. Okay, so it's not too that big of a deal, right? So we had this little bump, and the reason why that happened was because I based it off an offset. Remember we drafted it, and that I based it off a tubular offset, and sometimes the tubular offset isn't the cleanest thing in the world. So there's a couple of things we could do, right? I could just kind of go in there and clean it myself, or what I'm thinking is let me, hold on. I'm gonna get these. So yeah, I'm gonna hide unselected. No, okay. So let's get rid of everything else but the rose gold. And yeah, okay, now I know what I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do is get rid of this fillet, and then untrim this. Oh, dang it. Untrim this. Untrim this, and instead of I'm gonna make this transitional surface myself using what we were using before with the blend curves, right? So let's go to curve, blend curve toolbox, new, go here, select, go here, select, and then new one here, and then new one here, and then I'm gonna select select the curves, make them into 7-degree curves, and then I'm gonna select the blend points and make those into G3. And then I'm gonna use my edit. I'm gonna edit them, and I'm gonna make them all relate to this which one? I guess it would be there's multiple ones, huh? Well, I'm just gonna have to eye it and select this, and basically I have to try to make it as close as possible to this one. It's not bad. Maybe something like that. All right. So where is the? I kind of lost the. Oh, there you go. So this is the old one, and then this is where is it? Yeah, well, here you could definitely see the difference, right? That, if I delete that, see, now I have this one. Nice and clean. Wait, do I have that one? Did I also delete it in accident? Oh, well, I could skin them again. All right, so now that I have that, I'll delete these curve on surfaces. I'll place this on the rose gold layer, and then I'm gonna untrim this. See, because before we had that weird wobble right there. Untrim this. Untrim it again. Delete these curve on surfaces. And then I think I accidentally deleted the other ones too, which is fine. And then I want to make sure that I got curvature here and here. Okay, then I'm going to do it again with my fillet tool. Here, this one, and this one, and this one. And then let's see, edge align. Oh yeah, but I went the wrong side. So undo all, and then let me take out pink because I know it's hard to see what's going on. So I select this one. Oh, I guess like orange. Select this one, right? And then select this one, and this one. And then see how there's this arrow? I want it to go that way. There you go. And so if I still have the older front that has the old one, so we can see the difference, right? See how it has this wobble? And now this new one doesn't. Very important to, you know, always be very not lazy. You know, once you find an error, you kind of have to go through it and be like, okay, fine, I have to, you know, redo that section because maybe one of my techniques didn't, you know, it might have, you know, what really happened is I got lazy and did the offset versus rebuilding it myself like I did now. And that's sort of like the price you pay. Like the easier something is, the more likely it'll sort of automatically try to fix any of the little errors or not really be as controlled. So, and right now I'm retrimming the fillet that I'm reprojecting the edges of this fillet to that surface because I accidentally deleted it when I was untrimming. So there you go. Okay. So before, let's make sure that again the orientation. See this if you don't do this now, later when you do visualization and stuff like that, it'll really come and bite you in the booty. So let's see. Yeah, that's good. And now I have to redo it on the other side. Oh, before I do that, what I'm gonna do is actually group them all in the correct layer. So what I'm gonna do is use my object lister to sort of make sure everything's good. Just for this rose gold stuff, just right now, because it's already so like organized, like just this aspect of it. So we go to Windows object lister, right? And then rose gold. I have all those fillets and all that. So I go pick object, I select all of them, and then I ungroup all of them. And then I pick object, and I select all of them, and I group them. So now I have one group inside the rose gold layer that's in its layer, right? So now let's go object visible, and I have to do the same for this layer. So I gotta control copy these, right? Control copy and then paste them in the front like that, and then do that because I gotta redo this section, right? So I'm gonna select this and then untrim, and then untrim all of them, untrim this, and then redo the inside fillet of that. So like that. And yeah, we're doing the inside. There you go. So I'm gonna make sure that that's in my front layer. Right, is everything in my front layer? Okay, oh no, not this one. Assign, there you go. Then I just deleted the history, and then I'm gonna use my apply shader and apply. And same thing here. I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the other one. I'm gonna select the layer, pick all objects, delete history, control ungroup as much as I can, and then pick object, control group with my layer selected. I'm basically doing the same thing I did the other one, but just without my object lister open. So now I have all that, and pick object, group. And see, now we got that, right? And let's see, object visible. There you go. All right, now let's see what's left. I mean left. We actually have a long. We have a lot to go. Okay, now let's add the little let's add the little fillet on this little edge right here. Is this already grouped up? No, not yet. Okay, so let's get the screen out of there. Let's get the front and the rose gold out of there. And then I'm gonna do a little fillet here. Oh, file, save, obviously, because we've done a lot. And we're gonna add a fillet, a very tiny fillet, right here. And where's my 0.2? Maybe, let's see. Sure. So like that, put that in my back layer. See? Now we have a nice little, we're starting to sort of cut everything up, make everything nice and pretty. Let's get the screen in there. So yeah, after this, we're gonna add. I'm gonna start adding even more details, like the front. I'm gonna add some like not inserts, but like the cameras, and then some nice little surfacing tricks here and in the back. Before that, though, let's delete all the history, and I want to see them all in, let me see, hold on. I don't think there's anything in this layer, huh? Let's see, layer, delete, unused. Pick objects, what are, okay, ObjectVisible. So I'm going here to layer, delete, unused layer, and there's nothing in my outer layer. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So I go to my preferences, Windows, object lister, and then go to outer, and it has a bunch of null nodes that don't exist anymore. So you go here, delete, null nodes. Yes. Now that goes away. Now I can go layer, delete, unused layer, and there. So let me move these, organize these a bit using my middle mouse button, like that, right? And to change the colors up so I know what's what. Back would be like maybe like a. Another thing I want to do is change the colors of this thing, right? So let's open the back, open that, and then I'm gonna go my apply shaders, and I'm gonna duplicate this one, copy. We'll call this matte, and I'm gonna assign it to this, but I don't want any reflectivity. And I want the specular to be very noticeable and not too dark, like kind of gray, right? All right, let's unhide. I also want this inside one to be the front. I also want this one to be matte black. Then I'm gonna let me maybe a little darker. Let's see. Then I can go here, symmetry, 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 right? Oh, in the back, symmetry. And then pick objects, edit, duplicate, mirror. Just to kind of see where we're at. Isn't that, let me get these out of the way so we could see a little better. See? Now we're looking good. Look at that. Okay, so after this, we're gonna add all the details, but that'll be the next video since we're already at 50 minutes.